All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast. This is episode 110, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. Christian Brindle, Glenn Shelton, and we're back. Feels like a Tuesday. It's really a Wednesday. Good morning, good sir. How are you
Good
this morning?
morning. Good. I'm very cold. Just got out of my ice bath, trying to warm up. Feeling good though. Got a lot done today already. Was listening to my new book at the gym, which, spoiler alert, it's basically like I wrote the book. I'm gonna be honest.
I was gonna say, right, based on the premise of the book, part of me thought when I heard you were reading it, I'm like, what do you have to learn about that?
You know, I'm always interested to see what other people are saying, right? Like,
of course.
Always open to like new ideas, new strategy. Sometimes too, it's like, again, I'm really early on in this book, but there's things where I'm like, I wonder if the way he's choosing to explain it, maybe this makes more sense than how I explain it, even when we're talking about the same
philosophy, but
right.
Better delivery, right?
Yeah, I mean, some like, you ever like hear something from someone else and it like clicks for you? Like,
yeah,
you'll hear it the same way 100 times, and then you hear that same piece of information from someone else. It could be on a podcast, or it could be a news article, or just a conversation you're having with someone, and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that makes so much sense.
Yeah,
I've heard
all the
it
time.
100 ways. Yeah. So that's kind of part of it. But yeah, how about you? How's your morning going so far, sir?
Morning is good. Got a workout in this morning. Back on the grind. Of course,
nice.
Didn't start that today, yesterday as well. But yeah, got that in. Got breakfast. Nice cup of Joe, as they say. Got a couple early morning phone calls in. And I'm noticing on the pod this morning, I put on some chapstick because my lips were kind of dry. Yeah. And it looks like I'm wearing lip gloss on the pod.
You're glowing. I didn't
look at me. Look, it's like, I would make a wonderful woman. I'm just gonna say it.
Oh man,
what a way to
start. I wasn't gonna say anything. I thought maybe this was a lifestyle choice for you. You wanted to start wearing lipstick on the pod. Maybe you're trying to impress me. I don't know.
Well, I'm always trying to do that. I stay up late at night trying to think of how.
Oh dear Lord.
We got a good topic today. Something very, very interesting, right? Going through different questions asked by agents on Reddit. I'll be honest with you. I am not hip to the Reddit. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I never really have. I kind of get it, right? It's like a forum. People ask questions.
It's like anonymous Facebook groups.
At one point in time, I think it's been taken down now, but when I first started putting out videos of myself and things like that, someone made a subreddit about me. I looked for it a couple months ago. I couldn't find it. But like everything I did, they were like stalking my social medias. Like if I went on vacation and posted a selfie, they'd post my selfie on the subreddit with like a comment. They're like, he's here.
No wonder you can't disclose your location anymore.
It's very frightening, to be honest with you.
Christian's being stalked.
So that was my introduction to Reddit. I was like, someone has this thing about me called a subreddit. What's that? My wife's trying to explain to me what a subreddit is. I don't get it. She's explaining it to me 10 different ways. I'm like, I'm lost in the ecosystem of Reddit. So this should be very interesting, right? So I think that's a very good way to summarize it, right? Anonymous Facebook.
It is. Yeah. I have 5 threads that I have picked out. I went through quite a few. Some of them are like smaller things. Some of them are bigger things. The goal of the main topic today, when we get to it, will be to kind of go through the original poster, the OP, their question. We'll kind of give our answers or feedback to it. And we'll also go through some of the comments, because there's some really good comments too, where I'm like, man, that's really good advice.
Mm-hmm.
maybe make fun of some of the comments too. And
Yeah.
if you enjoy this, there's a lot of ways we can branch this into other parts of the internet. There's all types of other online forums. We could probably do YouTube comments. Like, we could really go pretty far into this if you guys enjoy this type of content. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this one today.
Yeah, I think it's great. I would be, I think, committing a sin of sorts if I didn't briefly mention last night's playoff game.
Oh no.
I know some of you just hate the NBA talk, and we're trying to keep it to like a few minutes at the most each episode. But man, until the playoffs are done, I don't know how we don't at least briefly touch on it. I do agree.
We might
though.
have to spin up
we don't
a
have to go
secondary
15,
pod.
20 minutes. We don't have to go
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes of every show. But man, the Pacers, man, 3-1 on the Knicks. I think this one might be done unless we see a historic comeback. That Pacers team, man, there's something else. Halliburton's so good. Did you know? I think I had heard this earlier in the season, but I kind of had forgotten it or suppressed it or whatever in my mind.
Suppressed it.
Like someone else suppresses things, carriers. But Halliburton was voted by the players as the most overrated player this season.
Yeah.
Which I kind of love him coming out and just giving it to all these teams that are supposedly ranked higher. They're the underdog against, looking like they're going to go to the finals. And he's just
it started before that though, right? So go back to this summer, the Olympics.
Right.
If you watched the Olympic basketball, which I was following the Olympic USA team very closely. It was a crazy tournament this year because they almost lost to Sudan. I watched almost the entire game. I'll never forget. I'm like, this is one of the best games of basketball I've ever seen. A country that didn't have an indoor basketball court. The entire country doesn't have an indoor basketball court. Meanwhile, you have this like multi-billion-dollar top NBA player payroll on the other side. And LeBron has to literally like bulldoze his way in for a layup at the last second to win the game by 1 point. Point of bringing this up, though, is Halliburton was on this USA team, essentially got no playing time the entire tournament. Steve Kerr was basically, he was coaching the USA team. He was the head coach. Steve Kerr was basically like, "You're not playing. I'm sorry. Like, you're the worst person on the team, essentially, right?" Like,
kind of had that happen. Maybe not as much. But I don't think Tatum played nearly as much as people thought he should. And there was a lot.
Not as much, but I mean, Halliburton was literally like benched pretty much the entire time.
Interesting thing about Steve Kerr and the Warriors, right? Like, you go back to Halliburton's draft. He didn't go till I want to say like 10 or something like that, to Sacramento, right? Sacramento ends up trading him to Indiana. The Warriors had the second pick that year, and they picked James Wiseman. Now, don't you think they would have liked to have Halliburton today?
Yeah.
As like this heir apparent to Curry. He could play the 2 guard. He's big enough. He's 6'5". He could play off Curry.
He gives me a little bit of Curry vibes for sure. He operates.
I think he would kind of be perfect in that Golden State system.
Yeah.
He would probably fit in very nicely, shooting, passing, high IQ kind of, and it's just kind of interesting to me. Like, Steve Kerr snubs him as in the Olympics. Steve Kerr, I'm sure, had something to do with who they picked. He probably had some say in who they pick.
For sure. It's
just kind of interesting. But I like to see that. I like to see somebody get kind of counted out.
Really fast. The NBA draft's coming up.
Right.
Cooper Flag, number 1 pick.
Dallas
has number 1 pick. There's some rumor going on. I don't know if you've heard this, that Dallas is going to trade the number 1 pick to Milwaukee for Giannis.
I've heard
have
this.
Giannis come to the Mavericks, and then I'm assuming the Bucks would take Cooper Flag, I guess, at that point, which is a crazy rebuild based on you're dismantling your team for Cooper Flag, an unproven commodity so far. Giannis, arguably one of the best, so I don't know. I kind of feel like Giannis is past his prime. You got AD and Giannis. It's like,
It's a
oh
weird,
man,
weird fit. It's a weird fit.
yeah.
I mean, Giannis had a great year. He was third in
Yeah.
MVP voting,
Yeah.
first team All NBA, right? Like, did you know? I saw a stat the other day. Giannis I think he's 30 now. They compared him to Kevin Durant, who's 37. If you had to guess which one of them has more first team All NBA selections, who would you guess? Kevin Durant's been in the league a lot longer.
I would have guessed KD before you mentioned this, but I'm assuming it's Giannis.
KD has 6, Giannis has 7, and he's 7 years younger.
Wow. That's crazy. Giannis seems so much older than me, but he came into the league. He was really young, I think.
He was like 18.
Yeah.
And so I think Giannis will probably be traded. He's kind of leaked some stories, it seems like, that he wouldn't mind moving on. His team is basically done. The cap space is destroyed. All their players have gotten old. Dame is old. Brook Lopez is old.
Whole team's ancient.
Kyle Kuzma is younger, but not good.
Kyle Kuzma, your favorite.
Yeah. They traded Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
So, I think that team is basically done. They don't really have many moves they can make to get better. And so, yeah, I would see him getting traded. I've heard those rumors about the first pick. It would shock me if they made that move, though. That would be like all-time Nico Harrison, like, you like what I did with Luka? Watch this. You know what I mean?
Because it does feel like that.
As great as Giannis is, and I think he's still elite. I just think his team wasn't very good. But he's 30. He's probably, if he's still in his prime, he's probably only there for a couple more years. And it's not a good fit with AD. They're both very similar players. They kind of play the same position. That's a weird fit to me. Yeah, I think that would be an all-time train wreck of a trade, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the offseason looks like. We got a lot of different dynamic. You got the Celtics probably in a rebuild. Bucks are probably in a rebuild. A lot of these teams that have been mostly the same for a long time are probably going to get torn down, and we'll see where everybody ends up, where everybody lands. But what do you think? Anything before we get into the main topic today? Anything else that you wanted to potentially discuss?
No, I don't have anything. Maybe we move into the sponsor, because I'd love to allocate as much time as possible to these Reddit posts and educate me on Reddit. Educate me on the wonders of Reddit.
You're mentioned. The funny part is you get mentioned all the time in these threads.
I know, and I don't understand.
I'm sure there's a few. I'm sure you're 90 years old. Christian is a senior. I've told you guys this before. He's been selling Medicare for so long to seniors. He's become a senior.
Into one. What do they call that? I'm trying to remember what that's called. It's like a science term, like an organism like morphs into another organism. I'm not going to remember it, but
it's called mental illness. It's schizophrenia. I think it's schizophrenia is the science term.
You mean you're thinking of multiple personalities, sir? Guys, episode 110, sponsored by 7 Figure University. Guys, there's only 2 days left to take advantage of this massive 7 Figure University sale. Lifetime access, typically $5,000. But it is only $695.95 for another 2 days until May 30th. That is over an 85% discount. There's no recurring fees. The course is updated all the time. There's new content being put in all the time. It's just the gift that keeps on giving. You're also invited to our weekly trainings and allowed to attend live, ask questions, everything like that. That is exclusive to our contracted agents, but also people that have bought into the course. I feel comfortable going on record and saying it. It is the best comprehensive platform for training to give you A to Z tools and information you need to know to build a successful agency. whether you're new or starting out or whether you're seasoned, the vast majority of seasoned agents could benefit tremendously in learning how we build our business internally, because we have one of the best agencies in the nation. And we share it all. We share as much as possible in there. Everything we share is proven. Everything we're sharing is something we're doing internally. We're testing internally first, and then we bring it to you, the people. This is only available for a couple more days. Take advantage of it while you can. 7-Figure University. The link has been thrown in the chat for people watching on the Facebook group. But if you're not, you can check it out on 7figureu.com.
Christian has a future as a radio host, without a doubt. He's really figuring out these read-ins, you guys. Hats off.
Working on it. Working on it.
Hats off to you, sir, for your craft. Craft. Okay, so I've got 5 different threads here.
Okay.
In no particular order, we'll start going through this. And again, comment below your guys' thoughts on this type of segment. We'd love to know your feedback if this is something that you enjoy. So I'm going to share my screen.
Diving into the world of Reddit.
Diving.
Like a cannonball.
All right. Can you see my screen, sir?
I can indeed.
All right. So this is our insurance agent subreddit. So this, a subreddit, again, think of it like it's a Facebook group. Everyone's anonymous in here. So people come in and ask questions.
I have a question, right? This is my education on Reddit, this episode. So you said R like Randy insurance? So R insurance?
Yeah, that's how, like, if you were to search for R/insurance agent.
Oh, so do we know what the R stands for?
Reddit. So in front of every single subreddit, it's R/ and then the name of the group or the topic, right? So this one's insurance agent. There's 24,000 people in here, so this is a decent sized group. So this was just asked 10 months ago.
Okay.
And the question is, how viable is Medicare sales? A guy came into the bar I work at last night, and we got to talking about work and life and such. And I was saying I wanted to get out of the bar industry, and he pointed me to a website to get my insurance license and told me he sells Medicare remote. He said it's great because it's something people already have / need, and all you need to do is point them to a much better plan and get paid. It's that simple. Look at that. It's that simple. So
let me guess before we finish. Okay. For those of you that are listening audio only, right? They can't see the question. The next portion of this is he invited me to his apartment for a party / opportunity meeting.
Sounds like that, doesn't it? I'm sure there's much more to it than that, but that tracks in my head. It's got to be much easier to sell something people need over something they just want. Many of my former coworkers went exactly this route, or this exact route actually, and this seems like a good lateral move from bartending. So what are your thoughts? So there's a couple ways we can kind of spin this. One is like, what are your thoughts on the pitch this person got, right? Dude sitting at a bar. And what kills me too is there was an agency owner that I used to work with. And anytime I went out with him, any restaurant, he was trying to recruit every time. He always thought people at restaurants and bartenders were like the best agents to recruit. So I laugh at that because I think about this other agency owner I used to work with, and he used to do exactly this. But I think my first question to you would be, what are your thoughts on that pitch that this person got?
The reason why I made that analogy, right, of being invited to an MLM, kind of party / opportunity meeting, and then you show up and it's like a drug dealing infested apartment, and there's slime coming down to the walls and everything like that, is because it sounds like that type of pitch to me. It's like because it is not that
Yeah.
simple, right? It doesn't mention
Yeah.
anything about compliance. It doesn't mention anything about certifications, all the barriers
Right.
to entry, clean
Right.
background, everything
Right.
with that, the ability to talk to people and have a personality, right? Like
Yeah.
it just sounds like someone trying to make you sell the dream to me.
Sell pie in the sky.
And
Yeah.
and I don't know
Yeah.
why someone would do that other than I want to recruit you, that kind of, you know what I mean? Like,
Comes across very recruiter pitch, right? Like, or it could be someone just bragging, right? Could be someone
sure.
that's bragging about, I don't know, I work from home and it's so easy. I work for myself and I make so much money, you should do this.
I make so
But
much money. I pay my apartment in advance. Pay my rent at the apartment 1 month in advance.
yeah. So that was kind of my thought too, reading this is like, got a pitch from a recruiter or an
Yeah.
agency owner who's trying to recruit them, oversimplified. So let's see what some of these comments are. We'll get into some of this. It's a lot of hard work. Uh, this is the first comment on here. Everyone makes it sound like NBD, no big deal, and a money printer, but it's not. The bar
Mm-hmm.
guy didn't tell you is even if there's a better plan, many don't want to switch due to being with X company for X years. Boy, don't we know that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Nor did he tell you that someone else can come in right after you and switch them to a different plan. And they chose with you. And now you have a chargeback and you owe back to the insurance company. Oh, man, that's I think a great comment to kind of redirect this guy. I mean, I don't know. The first part, that objection, I think is funny. That's the first one that they're reaching. What do you think about that objection?
I think it's interesting, right? Because I can kind of see where they're coming from with it, but at the same time, I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do the business, as you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's definitely something I think a new agent should be aware of because it's something that they're going to run into. But I do think as you grow and as you mature, it's not as big of a challenge or an obstacle. Um,
Yeah.
he talks a lot about, someone coming in behind you, replacing it, that kind of thing. Like that's fixable if you have a good process from A to Z, right? Like
Yeah.
in terms of
Agreed.
how you sell the policy, how you present, how that customer experience goes, how you make them feel, and then also how you take care of them and retain that business after the fact. So that's fixable, but a new agent probably isn't going to know how to do all of that as well as they need to. So they're going to experience chargebacks and it's going to hurt.
Yeah, the chargeback thing, I mean, it was definitely not really explained to me up front as a new agent. I definitely had to kind of learn that the hard way. I think it may have gotten mentioned, but no one explained, hey, when you're selling final expense, you're going to lose 1 out of 4 policies, 1 out of 5 policies like that. It was never explained that clearly. So, yeah, I think, good comment, kind of trying to bring this person back down to life. Next comment on here, it's not hard per se. It's a grind, though. The first couple years are the hardest. And if you are not financially prepared, if you can make it to year 3 with decent performance, congrats, you're set for life, unless the entire insurance commission model flips upside down. And I'm speaking as an independent agent.
Mm-hmm.
That I feel like that's kind of been a lot of the mantra that I share with people. I think we've both shared on this show before is those first 3 years being, kind of the biggest hurdle in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Like there are very few people in this industry that I would say that come in that personally sell that will make 6 figures in their first year. And even the people that claim to do it, I've never seen any evidence that they have. They just say so,
Yeah.
and a lot of
Yeah.
times they're selling a course, a system, recruiting, whatever it might be. So who knows, right? Like most of people that are trying to sell you something oftentimes are inflating the truth.
Yeah.
I know I didn't make 6 figures my first year, and
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that I could point to and I can verifiably say I know for a fact that person did. And even the people that claim to do it, it's a very small number of people. So I think that's a very true thing. Like the Medicare game is a business that grows over time. It takes time.
Yeah.
Takes time to, first off, get licensed, certified, all that crap. It takes time to learn what you're doing. Because I've always said, I think Medicare is one of the hardest product lines to learn. It's not a simple product line.
100%.
And then, cutting your teeth, all of that stuff, right? Like there's, and then of course, building your clientele one client at a time. It takes time, and the money's really made in the renewals in the second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year. So I think it is a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, again, the commenters here, and part of the Reddit system too, for Reddit newbies out there like Christian, you can they click to vote a comment being good or bad. So naturally, based on the hive mind of the internet, the good comments should rise up, so at the top. And you'll even notice in the Facebook groups that they're starting to experiment with the same thing, because I think it works so well. Sometimes I've seen in some of the groups you can vote on the comment up or down.
Mm-hmm.
Another kind of back to reality comment here. One big problem is that upfront commissions are not much. Most agents need to supplement with life insurance sales or rely on savings until they're able to build their book and start receiving some renewals. Also, Medicare phone sales is heavily regulated and receiving more restrictions, which makes selling Medicare remotely more difficult than ever. So, yeah, I mean, you mentioned the compliance end of it, which it sounds like this recruiter never really said anything about.
Shocker.
Yeah, right. Surprised you didn't lead with that. And then the upfront commissions, I think that's another valid point. We kind of just talked about that with the first 3 years, right? Building those renewals. I don't know how much deeper we want to get into this one, or if we want to move on. What do you think?
Are there any comments that jump out at you that they're like, being like, you're all dumb, it's easy?
No, if anything, it seems
Just kind
like
of more of the same.
it seems like the community here is mostly like trying to point out, hey, it's not that easy, dude.
Yeah.
This isn't a great get rich quick scheme. It does sound like an MLM pitch, like you were saying before.
Yeah, I think that was a great one to start with. You said you had how many others?
We got 4 more. So
Let's move to the others.
Yeah,
Let's move to the next one.
Good little intro. And so sticking with kind of newer agents here on the next one. So new Medicare / life insurance agent. It says I fell, but this person, I think they meant feel. I feel like I'm going to have a mental breakdown.
Ooh.
Yes. I'm
I
sure.
see mental health crisis happening in the Reddit.
Yeah. I'm sure many of you can, especially newer agents out there, have felt this way. So I know I'm extremely new and I've only been doing this for a few weeks, but I'm getting very discouraged. I've only booked 4 appointments and none of them got anything. So it sounds like they didn't make any sales. I've been cold calling all week, haven't booked anything else. I've rewritten my script at least 8 times, including the one I was given when I first started to try to sound natural. Either they already have an agent or they hang up on me. I feel like I can't get anyone to even talk to me. All the others in my class have been booking at least a few appointments a day, and I still can't get one. I had to borrow money to even get my license, and now my bills are overdue. And at this point, I don't know what to do. I can't quit because I put everything on the line to make this work, but I don't know what to do. I know there is no easy button and no quick fix to my issue, but I'm just not feeling as confident as when I first started. I've wanted to do this for so long, and I know the first 2 years are the hardest, but I can't go 2 months without any income. I'm looking for a part-time right now as well, but I'm just not sure what to do. Please help. Wowzers. What first thoughts on this?
Holy smokes.
Yeah. first thoughts on this?
Is this also? It's so the font is kind of small, so I'm having trouble like reading it myself
Oh,
and just
sorry,
listening.
old man. You want me to try to zoom in?
Please. Is this also our insurance?
Same subreddit, same group.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Got it. Yeah. So, you know, very, very common
Yes.
at the
That was
beginning.
my first thoughts too. Yeah.
Extremely common.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, like for me, right? When I started in this business, I was 21. I worked I had a job that was a full-time job. I took it to part-time, 20 hours a week, and I did that for 6 months on the side of my business. I had to do that to pay my bills, and I virtually had
Yeah.
none. I didn't
Yeah.
have very many bills in the scheme of things, you know. And I can't imagine having a wife, children, mortgage, car
Yep.
payments. You know what I mean? All that comes
Yep.
with that, and
100%.
just going cold turkey if I didn't have some significant amount of savings put away, right? So that's the thing that nobody really tells anybody about going independent. Like, there's a 95 chance you're going to fail.
Yes. 100%.
And, you know, like, you're not going to make any money for probably a year, you know, and you're going to start making a little bit of money in the second year. You know, you can make some money, but like this first couple of months in, like this person's experiencing, that's very normal because you're so green and there's so much to know. Like, it's not just learning the products and the compliance and learning what you can do, what you can't do. There's so much bad information out there.
Yeah.
But also, like, if you've never sold anything before and you're not a salesperson, learning how to be a salesperson. I talk about this a lot. Agents push back on me so hard when I talk about this. And I'm like, if you can sell a policy, you have sales skills, period. It's communicating a complex idea in a simplified way, right?
Yep.
Doing a presentation is sales skills, a good presentation. So, like, a lot of people don't have that. So you can get in front of somebody and you can sound kind of like a jive ass and you don't know what you're talking about. And you don't bode confidence in people. And by the way, everybody goes through this. If anyone says they didn't go through this and they just stepped in and they were divine, they're not telling you the truth. They're like that
100%.
recruiter in the apartment.
Yep. 100%. I think so. I mean, if I honestly were to give this person advice, like based on this current situation, I would probably tell them they should be an LOA agent. If I'm being honest.
Yeah.
The takeaway here is that you need more help than potentially the average person, which is totally fine. Self-awareness, just like Christian said, you might need to try to, depending on where you're at in your sales experience, you might need more help than other people. You're trying to learn all these products. So maybe you borrow some money and then go become an LOA agent and then slowly kind of build your way towards being an independent agent. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's some really great LOA opportunities out there as well that you guys, I think, overlook. So that would be my takeaway. I don't think that's what they're wanting to hear. I think this person's wanting like a shortcut where they can easily, just start making a bunch of sales. The other thing that comes to mind too is they probably haven't put in enough time. They've only been doing it for a few weeks. Like how many calls have you even made in a few weeks?
Right.
And like, to me, I'm like, the solution here is probably your activity level. Like if you really want what the solution is, put in 60 hours a week of, they mentioned, appointment setting. I mean, literally just spend all your time on the phone appointment setting. You'll eventually have success just by the law of large numbers.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another big piece of this that I think comes to mind. But what do you think about the LOA recommendation though?
I think it's a great one, right? I think I would make the argument that the majority of independent agents should be LOAs. They shouldn't be independent.
Yeah.
The majority of independent agents would probably make more money as LOAs and have less stress and have more success
Totally.
in
I totally
a
agree.
good LOA opportunity.
Yeah,
But everybody wants to be their own boss because it's kind of become a pop culture thing in a way, right? Like,
I agree.
which it's not glamorous to be your own boss. There's a lot of stress, heartache. Um, but when you win big and it's great. But when you lose, it's devastating, and you have to be able to handle that. And most people just can't. Most people don't have a true entrepreneuristic mindset.
With hundreds of insurance agents and agency owners at the event, this could not be a better opportunity to spotlight your business. If you're looking for a sponsorship opportunity and where to spend your sponsorship dollars this year, the Seven Figure Medicare Agent Summit is the spot to do it. You can have your own booth. You can network with agents. This is the 4th annual summit, so there's going to be a lot of agents there and a lot of agents who are looking for help from vendors for leads, educational vendors. You could have a software tool. There's so many great vendors that we've had in the past, and we're looking at a lot of great opportunities for businesses to sponsor at the Seven Figure Medicare Agent Summit. So if you are looking for a sponsorship opportunity, make sure to check out sevenfiguresmedicareagentsummit.com.
Get your tickets today while they're still available, and reach out about sponsorship opportunities. We'd love to have you involved with the Seven Figure Medicare Agent Summit in 2025. Now back to the show.
Totally agree. So we'll get into a few comments here before jumping into our next post review. So, and just goes to show you how smart we are. Top comment is, my suggestion is to get a job with a company that pays a salary with a small commission while you learn, aka an LOA position.
I know.
We're geniuses. And the poster actually said that's a good idea. Thank you. So maybe they were open to it.
Yeah, a lot can happen in a year. This was a year ago.
Yeah, this was a year ago. So yeah, I'm curious to know what the update on this person is, but here's a great one. Splitting commissions when they got started. That's a great little tidbit to throw out there. If you're looking for some help getting trained, bringing deals to someone and basically being like, hey, will you write this and split it with me? I mean, I think that's a good suggestion. Have you ever done that before?
Once or twice early on, but it wasn't anything that I did a lot. I didn't like it. I'm not saying it's not a good suggestion, because I think that it is for a new person. Yeah. Absolutely. But on the Medicare side of things anyway, it gets a little tricky, because if you split it, it's like, who's taking care of the client, who's doing the service work,
right?
That gets a little hairy. Let's say the client will typically gravitate towards one of you, and then it kind of feels, you're doing all the work for the client, and the other person's getting half the commission. It kind of feels like a slap in the face. Yeah. So I don't like it as a long-term solution, but getting started, sure. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think I did it a few times early on too, where again, like an agent that really wasn't my upline, that was in my office. I'd bring him a couple deals, and then we'd split the actual commissions on it on the app. So yeah, I think, depending on where you're at, it's something that might be helpful, maybe not a long-term solution. Stop talking so much. So sales tip, stop talking so much. Ask open questions and then shut up. I called the lead this morning, asked about her beneficiary, and the lady spoke for 20 minutes about her daughter and her plans for the house after she passes. Let them talk about their beneficiary and their plans and what they want for the future. Let that emotion be drawn out on their side at their own pace. It's easier to sell when they are thinking about their loved one's future. What do you think about this one?
Emotional selling, right? And I think it is true, especially for life insurance. We've kind of talked about it on the pod before, but like, to really sell life insurance really effectively at a high clip, you kind of got to put them in the box.
It's in the box. Put
It's
them in the
hard. It's
ground.
hard.
It
It's not
is.
like
It is.
Medicare sales, right? It's a totally different dynamic.
Totally.
But yeah, no, I think that's true for life sales.
Yep. You talked about the open-ended questions thing, and I always thought it was a good move, and they recommended it here in this comment. So, and I also like the stop talking so much, because I do think some of you are overselling or saying too much. Just, say what needs to be said, and then move on and write the application.
Right.
Let's see if we got any other comments before we move on. Yeah, that was the one comment there. Cold calling is just going to be what you described on repeat. People do not love telemarketers. Cold calling for insurance is the same thing, which I think is funny that they felt like they had to compare that. But going at this on your own without a book of business is going to be hard. I would try to partner with someone who has already been in the business, someone who may have some leads or experience with advertising. I was told if you can make it 2 years, then you will be good. And they were right. After 2 years, it seemed the referrals started coming in, but it was a very tough 2 years. And I started with a small book of business. So, what do you think about that recommendation? Partnering with someone who has an existing book.
I think it can be good, especially somebody that's outside of, like, if you're doing Medicare, for example. This seems more like a life insurance situation, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
If it's like a different product line, you can, like, there early on, I was able to partner with some P&C agents that would let me mail their books that were Medicare age and things like that. So that's good. Yeah, I think it just depends on the context.
Both. Yeah, they mentioned Medicare and life.
Okay.
So I don't know if specifically what it seems like there was kind of a mix in the comments of what people's responses are, but I think you're right, though. I think it's subjective to the specific context, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on. I want to have time to get through some of these other ones. I think that was a great one, though, as well.
Jumping into the Reddit.
The old Reddit machine.
The Reddit machine. Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth.
The hive mind of the internet. Okay, so this one, I thought this one hit home for me personally, and I love this one. Viable final expense leads that aren't misleading. Do they exist?
Ooh.
Hello, I am a new independent life and health agent. I'm trying to find viable final expense leads that aren't predatory, ...
Ooh.
And wondering if these actually exist, or if lead vendors as a whole are just scamming people. Dun, dun, dun. I've tried some direct mail leads from an IMO I'm contracted with, and the postcard used to get people to fill out their info requesting info claimed that these people had access to a state-regulated insurance program that would pay 100% of final expense insurance, well up to over $20,000. They had me going to extremely poor neighborhoods, asking people who live off of Social Security to pay out of pocket for final expense when they only filled it out in the first place because it sounded like it was free. I heard direct mail leads were the best by YouTubers. Shout out to YouTube. And so I had hoped that maybe I could do something with them. But after seeing how destitute those who filled it out were, ... I am hopeless that these leads could ever result in a sale for me. Oh no, my battery's running low. Does anyone know of a legit lead source of people who are actually interested in purchasing final expense and aren't getting scammed into sharing their personal info? I thought this business could provide an actual opportunity for me to make a living for myself, helping others, not taking advantage of those living well beneath the property line. What do you think about this one? I'm going to plug in my computer. computer here really fast.
Yeah. So my initial thoughts are, I think a lot of lead generation sources use that type of terminology, state regulated. You know what I mean? Like we talked about it a lot. Like it's
Yeah.
better to say that than say life insurance. The amount of people that will respond is a Grand Canyon of difference, right? So for one, especially if you're doing direct mail, it sounds like this person, they feel like by doing this type of marketing that she's scamming people. But I think that's the wrong attitude to have, in my personal opinion, right? Like, I think, I don't know. I'm curious to hear your perspective on it because, you have a decade of experience as a lead vendor, as a lead generator in large volumes. I kind of think she has the wrong attitude. I think it's almost comes across a little holier than thou to me. Like, I mean, how are you taking advantage of somebody by selling them life insurance? What did you think you were going to be doing?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about this the other day. The idea of, do you believe in the product that you're selling? So part of what I'm hearing here in this post is an agent that doesn't necessarily believe in like the validity of the product they're selling. And if you don't believe in that, if you're genuinely thinking, man, I don't think this is, something that really offers value to the senior, but I'm selling it just to try to make a commission, you're going to have a really hard time. It doesn't matter what the wording is on the direct mail card or where the lead came from. You're going to really struggle to sell it. So if you have to really believe in the value of the product, of the policy, and what's coming through here to me is I don't really hear that they believe that there's validity here. Because a lot, is it the best wording on this card? I don't know. I'd have to really see the card to tell you, but
Yeah.
it is a state regulated insurance program. That's what Final Expense is. It's a state regulated insurance program.
So how is it misleading?
Right.
I think this person is saying it's misleading because it doesn't specifically say life insurance. Send this back for life insurance, which is never going to work with any type of marketing that you do. So just maybe like it almost sounds like, and I've seen this a million times, an agent that has an expectation that, she buys a lead or pays for some marketing and the people she gets back it's on a platter and she's like the McDonald's person and taking orders. Do you want fries with that? So just bad expectation, bad attitude, just has a very low level, I guess, understanding of what her role is into this.
Totally agree.
Because I can you think of a single type of marketing that you can do for Final Expense and you say life insurance and you just say, you know what I mean? That's all you say,
Yeah, I mean, and this expands outside of Final Expense too, like mortgage protection. Like, is it a scam if you're using marketing terminology where it's not, perfectly clear to the average consumer what you're talking about? I don't think that's a scam. I think that's basically marketing 101, right? It's like you're repackaging something, you're saying it a different way, you're trying a new angle, you're trying to get people to respond. There's some inexperience here for sure that I'm seeing. We'll get into a couple comments here. We're already getting towards the top of the hour. Time is flying by here. But this sounds a lot like FFL. There were multiple lawsuits against them for lead fraud by reselling exclusive leads, etc. I'm sure other IMOs may have different experiences and tactics, but I left insurance because I couldn't stand pressuring people into spending money that they didn't have.
Is that what she's talking about, though? Like non-exclusive leads? Doesn't sound like that to me.
Well, no. And I think it's funny that the top comment here is someone that quit insurance, I guess.
Yeah.
I left, so that's this person's perspective, which, I don't know if that's the best perspective to have on this one, but into spending money that they didn't have from leads like this and all the chargebacks that come with it. The constant rhetoric is that it's a you problem and you just aren't working hard enough. And basically to pressure and harass people. Plenty of people need life insurance, and I'm sure there are agents who don't work as hard as needed, but it's certainly not a you problem that you feel uncomfortable with the leads you described. I now work 60 hours plus per week and have never had trouble working hard or overcoming challenges when it comes to work. But I was constantly told this when I shared the quality and discomfort with the leads. So I assure you, most likely it's not a you problem. And this is a common rhetoric from the type of people that don't feel gross forcing and pressuring people into poverty to go into more poverty. I mean, woof. I don't even know where you tackle this
How do
this
you eat
part
an
of
elephant?
yeah, holy cow, there's a lot here on this one.
So here's the thing, right? I don't understand. So, okay, the term forcing people, I've never felt like I've forced somebody to buy anything from me. Have you?
No, I mean, there's times where I've pushed harder than I probably
Sure.
should have. Like if there just wasn't as much genuine need or interest, and I'm still trying to, really get them to sign up. I get that part of it, but to the way that this person frames it, where forcing people like you're holding them at gunpoint or something.
Right. That's kind of
Like,
how it's framed, right? Like,
yeah, yeah,
I think there's this expectation that every single deal that's going to be written is going to be a laydown. And it's not. It's going to take some salesmanship on the part of the agent to get the deal done. And if, do I believe in extremely hard sales, Wolf of Wall Street style? No, probably not so much. I'm
no,
not advocating for that. But I think you can sell a lot of insurance without doing that.
yes,
You know what I mean?
100%
There's a
for
difference
sure.
between being overly aggressive and being assertive
Yeah.
and confident and persistent, right? But I think that I don't understand what people were expecting to do when they got their license to sell life insurance. And then when they're trying to sell life insurance, they're like, oh, I feel like I'm pressuring people to buy life insurance. What? It's like I go into a car dealership and I'm looking at cars and the car salesman approaches me and tries
I
to
don't
talk to
believe
me about buying a car. I'm like, well, yeah, I walked onto a car dealership. You know
you
what I
should really
mean?
get a motorcycle. You don't want a car. I feel like they don't believe in the product here too.
For
This
sure.
person they don't believe in the product of life insurance. If you think, your people in poverty go into more poverty, they're passing a debt on to pay for their funeral to their loved ones. This could be looked at in some ways as being financially responsible, not poverty into more poverty. Um,
It's
that
almost like the mentality is that you're scamming people, you're taking money away from them and giving them nothing in return. And that's not true. You're giving them
no,
you're covering a risk, an insurance policy.
it's not true. And I highlight here, I left insurance because I think that's a key part of this response, which
Yeah.
is this person didn't even stick around, and they're here, they're still upset, they're venting about this. We don't really have much time left here. So I'm going to go ahead. We'll jump into the next one.
Okay.
This is kind of a simple question that comes up all the time. I think part-time agent, I need some advice. Does anyone sell life insurance part-time? Is it possible? Looking for something to do after 5 p.m. and some weekends. Does anyone have companies that they would know to apply for? And so, the question of, can you do this part-time? And then there was one comment here that someone talks about Medicare as well. The question was about selling life insurance part-time. This comment is from someone strictly doing Medicare. I've been doing that since 2018. It can work, and there is a heavy effort focus during the AEP period, which just starts in October through December. From a leads perspective, I started out having a booth at Walmart, which worked well for me. So, what are your first thoughts to the question in general, though, selling part-time?
I think it's well, no, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say, I did it starting out, but no, I didn't. I worked full-time and worked a job part-time.
Yeah.
I can't think of many instances that I've seen it work. I don't know about you.
I think it can.
I think it's really hard.
I think it can, but it's a lot harder to make it work. I guess if you're a Medicare agent and you're basically only selling during AEP, that's one version of this being part-time work because you're only working part of the year. So there's situations like that where I think it can work, but I don't love it, and it's not something I would recommend to anybody, by any means.
Yeah.
And I myself wasn't part-time either. I came in immediately full-time. There was no part-time insurance for me, when I jumped in.
Truthfully, I could probably count on one hand how many people I've seen start part-time and they last.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
We're kind of speed running the end of this here. So the next question we'll jump into FMO/indie jump fear ... I am a health insurance agent. I am a pretty heavy hitting producer in a company with 250 agents. I'm usually between number 3 and number 4. I am captive awaiting my release on Monday. And I love the way that was written, because I'm like, they sound like they're getting released from prison. Company was bought out and we could accept an offer without seeing a comp plan, yada, yada. I accepted as this was dropped on us rather quickly and needed to make commissions after seeing the comp plan and management. I'm like, why am I not doing this on my own? My book of business is 2 years. My book of business in 2 years is disgusting, and I am selling recycled leads. I have been successful helping others and their startups. This is my baby. I love this job. It's very rewarding. Should I go with an FMO as a way to transition into an independent agent? What am I missing out on? I have some money to start out on my own, blah, 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 blah. So what do you think of this one? Again, this is kind of the antithesis to that first question where, you had a brand new agent that was trying to go out independent and struggling. This is kind of the opposite of that. We've got a successful LOA agent trying to decide if it's time to go out on their own.
Yeah, I think the question always comes to my mind when I hear situations like this, to where very likely, if you're in that position, your life is very simple. All you have to do is knock down what's set up for you, right? Like the leads are being provided for you, all the infrastructure is being provided for you. So the question remains, and one thing that kind of jumped out to me that they said was, I really enjoy my job. And you're probably making good money, so I guess the question would become, are you prepared to start doing for yourself everything that's being done for you in addition to all the work you're doing now? And that's the question people don't think about enough. People think, oh, I could get a bigger slice of the pie. But it's going to be a much smaller piece of pie.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you might end up with less. Your entire pie might end up being smaller than the piece of pie you're getting.
Happens all the time. All the time. So just a quick comment here, and then we'll wrap it up. But it's about how much money you set aside for marketing / how you're going to get your leads. Marketing is the most important part of your business. Do you have any marketing experience? I suggest going through an FMO for support since you're newly independent, and they will help you with almost everything. I mean, that's debatable. It depends who you're signing up with.
Yeah.
Going with an FMO gives you access to higher comp than going direct and other tools that FMOs have at their disposal. Again, I think the big takeaway here, the big takeaway for me is it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. And you were kind of touching on that, right? Is, if you have no way of acquiring clients, and then you go out on your own, and now you're spending a fortune to acquire a client because you don't have that process figured out. I mean, now you're talking about a net negative. Whereas if you had stayed with your LOA position and you already have a system in place and you're just basically stacking cash, you don't have to go out on your own. I think a lot of people feel obligated, like they have to do it. They have to go out on their own. But
like, why do you have to go out on your own? Like, what did I say a moment ago? The majority of agents are miscast as independents.
Yes.
They shouldn't be. Like, is everybody built to be a business owner? Absolutely not. You kind of have to be a little bit sick in the head in a lot of ways.
Yeah, 100%.
And if you're like a regular average person and you're like, you're balanced, you're healthy, there's a good chance that you're going to struggle as a business owner. That's a horrible message, isn't it, to end the show with? But
final thoughts. You're going to be miserable.
But no, I think you have to have the ability to take on really difficult situations and kind of crushing pressure and stress and things that are out of your control. There is no clocking out and going home.
No.
Unfortunately. So I think that's, people have, I think, a little bit of delusions of grandeur. Do some people start as LOA and then they go off independent and they do great? Yes. But is it 1 out of 10? Probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of my thoughts on that. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't necessarily, it just kind of depends on who you are. But I think the questions that we asked are probably the right questions to be asking. Like, think about the reality of what you're going to have to be taking on versus what you have to do right now. And are you okay with that?
Yeah.
And are you okay starting from zero? And are you okay with a 9 out of 10 chance you probably won't make it?
Yeah. My final thoughts, you guys, on today's episode, I think self-awareness is super powerful. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast before, but I think part of this whole, when you're talking about some of these different situations that came up, like an agent that doesn't really believe in the product they're selling, or can I do this part-time, or, Medicare or life insurance, like all these different things, the more self-aware you can be, should I be an LOA agent? Should I be an independent agent? The more self-aware you are of your own strengths and what you're actually good at, I think the easier it is to choose the winning situation, for yourself. Obviously, Christian, I can give advice here, generally speaking, on the show, but what typically the actual answer for you is going to have to come from, inside. You'll have to really kind of figure out what's the best situation for you as an agent. So yeah, those are my final thoughts. I enjoyed that, though. I thought that was a fun kind of something different that we hadn't done before. What did you think on today's episode?
I enjoyed going down the rabbit hole of the Reddit machine, learning, right? Getting a little bit educated.
Yes.
And yeah, I think it was fun. If you guys like this type of content, let us know, because we'll definitely do more of it. There's all kinds of forums and things like that we can react to on the show. I think it's good content. So let us know if you guys like it too, and we'll definitely do more of it. Yeah, guys. My final thoughts, I would say, is, I think you can typically tell, if you're looking for it, if someone fails out of the business and they're casting blame, right?
Yeah.
You can typically see pretty easily why.
100%.
Complaining about the leads, complaining about your upline, complaining about the industry, complaining about blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, your success is going to be determined by you, and it's not determined by your FMO. Someone that's destined to be successful, they can be with the worst FMO in the world and they're still going to be successful.
100%.
They just won't be as successful as they could be with the right FMO, right? But like, it's not going to make or break them, right? Like, what's going to make or break it is you, and if you're made of the right stuff. And so that's kind of what jumps out at me,
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of, crying and moaning going on, but that's okay. It's good for content.
There's an endless amount of that out there for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
For
You guys
sure.
like to see us react more to the crying and moaning. We want to know about it. Everybody, thank you for watching all the way to the end, no matter how you watch, live or on the replay, audio or video. We certainly appreciate it. Make sure to comment on the live stream in the Facebook group, 7-Figure Medicare Agent, to be entered into Freebie Friday. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube channel. Make sure to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on Spotify and other audio-only platforms. And we'll see you guys on the next one, episode 110. Appreciate you. Here's to your massive success, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.